Hey guys, Kayshawn Ballard here. So I want to start this video off by saying there's going to be no footage of the riots, there's going to be no footage of the looting, there will be no footage of anything other than the peaceful protest. And this is for two reasons. One, social media and news networks, they really like to hammer down the fact that a lot of these protests are all like masks for us to just go out to the streets and riot and loot, which is not true whatsoever. And if you look at it deeper within actual, you can see that the majority of times, most of the looting and the riots have been started by people who are not a part of the protest to begin with. People who will show up later into the protest will come in with baseball bats, with crowbars, with I don't know, just a bunch of like things like gas masks, you know, just bandanas to cover their whole face, things like this, goggles, and they'll come in and destroy stuff. So that's one reason I won't be showing any footage. And another reason is just because my channel, you know, I like to do fun things, I like to keep it light, but on notes like this I also want to spread awareness, and I don't really want authorities looking at my channel for suspects or people they can lock up or anything like that. So for that reason we're only going to be demonstrating the peaceful protest on this video. Alright, so I went to the protest that happened in Philadelphia Center City on Saturday, May 30th. What we did was we started at Center City. I guess first things first, the man who orchestrated this whole protest, I don't really know his name, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but he orchestrated this. He put out a tweet, he said that we are gonna meet noon Saturday, Center City, and a lot of people were like, yeah, let's do this, let's protest, let's meet up for this. And then a bunch of other people were like, no, this guy is sketchy, do not show up to this protest. And the reason this guy seemed sketchy was because on his Twitter where he posted the meeting details for this protest, he also posted claims that this protest and himself had ties to the Black Lives Matter chapter in Philadelphia, Philly socialist, you know, Philly activist groups, and a bunch of other people. And the Black Lives Matter movement chapter for Philadelphia and Philly activists and pretty much all the other Twitter accounts he mentioned had posted their own separate tweets saying that no, this person has not contacted us or reached us in discussion for this protest. This protest has no affiliation with us and our representation, so please be wary of this protest. So all this happened and it all culminated into Friday night, the night before the protest. The Black Lives Matter movement chapter and Philly activists, really the majority of the people he tweeted about who had tweeted that he was lying, they kind of backtracked it and said, all right, well, we've been in talks with this person, even though we don't fully endorse this protest, we will be there at the protest, attend the protest at your own caution, which kind of seemed a little counterintuitive to me because it was just a whole weird situation. But eventually the guy who started the protest, you know, he got not endorsements but like backing from all these other activist groups. So that brings us to the Saturday morning. I wanted to get there at 12. This is my first protest. I've never been to a protest before this one. This will be my first protest going because I am newly 19. I newly live on my own. So, you know, in the area I lived at before, there weren't really many protests going around movements like this. Now I'm in Philadelphia, so now I can be a part of movements like this. So I didn't really know the time, you know, how the time frames of protests really work, but it started at 12 p.m. It started at noon. My plan was to show up at 12:30, you know, fashionably late because that's where I arrive everywhere. And when I got there at 12:30, there was a lot of people. There was a massive amount of people, and I was severely underestimating the amount of people that would show up. But with all the controversy around the endorsements, it seemed like maybe not a lot of people would show up. So I was in the back, but I kind of like worked my way up towards the front, towards where the speaker was. I'm pretty sure it was the guy who sent out the initial tweet for the meeting, so the man who like orchestrated it all. I should also mention there was a bunch of backlash too because he was accepting money. He was accepting donations through his Venmo account. And he says that all the money went to foods and boards and signs so he can give food out to families in need in times like this, and signs and boards so they can have things to hold at the protest. But yeah, that's also something to keep in mind. He was speaking on his megaphone and he was chatting. There was a lot of signs going around. People were filming. There was a lot of people standing around. And eventually, after being there for a couple of minutes, we took our 9-minute kneel. And this was the 9-minute kneeling to signify George Floyd, who sadly was kneeled on. We took a 9-minute kneel, took a moment of silence, And after that kneeling, we stood up and we marched the streets of Philadelphia. We marched down, I don't know what street it was called, but we marched from the Center City Hall straight to the Philadelphia Art Museum. And the reason we did this is because the Black Lives Matter movement that first claimed that they didn't want anything to do with this protest now had a joint protest with them that started at 2 p.m. from this 12 p.m. protest. And that started at the Philadelphia Art Museum. So from Center City Hall, we marched to the Philadelphia Museum. In the streets, you blocked off all the cars. There was police everywhere. They were in the line. They were trying to, hold it down. But this was an extremely peaceful protest. We all ended up on top of the Philadelphia Art Museum. So there was a lot of people. So a lot of people were at the bottom and a lot of people at the top. And then this is the moment when I realized protests aren't ever really just like a single individual thing. And while I myself made it to the top and made it in front of the person who, tweeted out the initial tweet for this protest, and along with the other speakers who were supposed to speak for this protest, to my left, there was another group that were part of the same protest, but had a different speaker, and that speaker wasn't scheduled to speak, but because there were so many people and not everybody could hear the people we were there to hear speak, I guess people on the other side took it upon themselves to speak as well. And further down the stairs, because the Philadelphia Art Museum is it's just this huge staircase to get to the top. So further down the stairs, people were also having their own meeting, and there were also individuals talking down there too. So while I myself was with the main group and the main speaker, there were a bunch of other I don't want to say side because it makes them seem less important. I'm trying to think of the word. I guess what I want to say is there was one big, huge protest, but then divided into 3 or 4 separate mini discussioned protests. Being a young black male in America, there's not a lot that makes me feel extremely proud because the American society really values 2 things. One, how much money you have and how much money you've earned, and how much clout or followings you have on social media. So being a young black man, I don't have a career, I'm still in college, and I don't make a lot of money, I'm at a base level job. But the American society doesn't make us feel, proud or anything like that. But there's something really nice about being surrounded by a bunch of black people, and even just like people of color, white people, everyone who is there in support for you and to show solidarity and to show that their respect for the struggles you have to go through, even though you're not on top of America right now. People who show up and think that they're not doing anything, trust me, you are, because on an individual level, it truly does help me personally and a lot of other black people who show up and could really feel the love that is just in the atmosphere. The amount of pride that I have gained and received from going to the single protest is insane, and it makes me feel like I can really accomplish anything in America. So I just want to say thank you guys for that, because it honestly helps a lot.
Black Lives Matter! 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 Black Lives Matter!
Sorry for that rant. Back to the protest. There was 3 speakers really. It was the main guy who orchestrated all of the speeches. His speech was okay, he really talked about the Black Lives Matter movement. Then a Black Lives Matter's community member spoke as well, which I was down for. She was amazing. The way she spoke was really clear and defiant, and she gave a lot of black women a lot of empowerment and a lot of encouragement, which I'm always for. I love my black females, and they do deserve more representation and more power than they are given. So I liked it. I was just confused because this part was not the Black Lives Matter movement. This was not the Black Lives Matter, because this was not the Black Lives Matter movement solidarity protest just yet. But at the same time, they also said that they wouldn't endorse this specific protest, yet they have community members outwardly speaking at this protest before the Black Lives Matter solidarity movement starts. Like, I don't believe that speaking publicly should be constrained to one particular person or one thing. I think everyone should have a voice. But at the same time, I just don't think you should cause all this uphill rile on Twitter just for it to culminate into you guys being together on the streets made no sense to me. But she spoke and she was great. Then the last speaker was this police officer, and the way he spoke was so great because the way he spoke, he wasn't just a Philadelphia policeman, an American citizen, and a black man. He was all three in one. The way he articulated his words and his message was really nice. It was really breathtaking. Everyone felt the passion. Everyone felt passionate. You know, the chant started, the cheering started, and it was really a great moment. So he was a great speaker, and I wish I got his name. I don't know. I just wish I knew more about him because he was a really good speaker. I don't think he's a prominent figurehead in terms of justice movement. I think he just spoke because they offered a platform and he took it. But yeah, he was definitely really good at it. So I do appreciate him and his voice because they did touch me a lot, and they touched a lot of people too. So after about, 30 minutes to an hour of those three people talking, the main initial protest had ended. And then it shifted over to Black Lives Matter movement solidarity protest. And where we were at the top of the Philadelphia Art Museum, the Black Lives Matter solidarity protest was happening all the way at the bottom. So I had to make my way down there. But the problem is I'm in the back of the movement. So I made my way around and got as close as I could. But the closest that I could get, I wasn't able to hear or properly film the Black Lives Matter solidarity movement. So then I just decided to start recording around me and talking to people. And it was crazy because the amount of people who can't make it to the front, so they cannot hear the initial speaker, they were still there to show their support in person and to show that they're there with the movement. There was this friend group I had came across. They were just having a nice picnic. They put down a picnic blanket on the grass, and they were sitting down having a nice little picnic. I asked them, you guys here to like egg on the protesters? Are you guys here for the protest? You guys seem like you're just chilling. And they said, they don't want to be in the front lines, but they do want to show their support and their solidarity for the situation that's going on in America right now. So they're there for the protest to show that the protest has numbers and to show that the protest has supporters, but they don't want to be there in the front. So I'm not going to put that part of the video in this video. I'm not going to show their faces or anything like that because they don't want that, and I respect their wishes. But, it's just nice to see how many people, even though you can't be directly in front of the message, how many people still come out and show that their support and show that they're there for the cause. It really is a great thing to see. So yeah, even when you can't be all the way in the front, even when you can't hear the speaker, just showing up, being there, holding your head held high, your hand held high, and just, showing that you're a part of the movement and showing that you're really there for the cause, it's really helpful and it's really nice. After about an hour and a half of the Black Lives Matter solidarity protest, that's when it moved into another march. So we had marched the streets again, and after about 20-30 minutes of the march, that's when sadly the looting and the rioting started. I myself will not talk about that very much. But what I want to do with the platform I'm given and the opportunities I have to outwardly speak and outwardly vocalize, I just want to shine a light on the peaceful protesting. I just want to shine a light on all the good people can do by showing up peacefully and protesting, and I just want to shine a light on the people who do show up and peacefully protest. Peaceful protest only gets you so far. Rioting only gets you so far. Looting only gets you so far. I don't think a combination of all three is needed to make progress, but I do think sacrifices have to be made in order for progress to move forward. I think that's all I'm really going to say about that situation. Like and subscribe for more content. My channel will turn more to a lighter note after this video. I had some fun things planned before, but because of the situation, they had to be moved and canceled. So just be ready for those things in the future now. And thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love you guys, truly do. Like I said, like and subscribe to support the channel. If you want more content, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. Thank you.